Hey there, everybody. Hello. It's time for a quick live stream. This is going to be not super fast, but kind of fast because we have a snowstorm. The kids are on their way home. You know how that is. So yeah. So let's get into it. Let's get into this empath stuff. I'm gonna do a little kind of a mini series on my personal page here. So if you're an empath or you're highly sensitive or you're intuitive, or maybe you're just like, shit, I need this information anyway. Please, if you would feel called to do so, to give some hearts or likes and some shares out to other empaths or into your groups or anyone that you feel would benefit from this information. Because as empaths, right, the holidays can be super overwhelming, right? If you're going through your holiday season already in the month of December, you're already kicking it off, or if you celebrate Christmas and it's just around the corner next week, you're like, oh shit, you're still recovering from Thanksgiving and you don't know how you are going to get through it, because what happens during the holidays sometimes, depending on your family dynamics, it can be a time when your buttons are pushed, right? People can get triggered at the holidays because they are spending time with family members, and not all family members have this dynamic by any means, okay? This is not a generalization, but in some families, it's super stressful because number one, everybody has their own opinions and we tend to let loose with those we're closest to, right? And sometimes we can even be the most hurtful with the people we're closest to. I know, makes no sense, right? Not that we should be hurtful with anybody, in my opinion, but sometimes it happens. The people that are closest to us get sometimes don't get the best of us because we trust them. I'm going to copy and paste some stuff into the comments real quick. Because we trust those that we're closest to. Kind of like if you're a mom, the shit rolls downhill, right? Your kids, when they're freaking out or they're feeling out of sorts, who do they take it out on? Usually mom, right? Because mom's that safe space. And I think with family, sometimes, yes, there are fights, there are battles, there are personality conflicts, there are different fights or people. What's the word I'm looking for? Not quibbling, even though that's like an old-fashioned word. Now I'm dating myself. You quibbling. People are just bickering. That's a good one too, right? Bickering about certain stuff. But most of the time it's just people let their guard down a little bit and everybody kind of reverts back to their old behavior from back when they were kids, back when your parents, you were young and they're kind of treating you like when you were young and you're kind of around your siblings or your cousins or whatever, and there's all those dynamics. Or sometimes old hurts or pains are brought up, right? So how fun is that? So how fun is that for Christmas cheer? When your family is totally going at it with each other and you're like, shit. Or if you're an empath or highly sensitive, intuitive, and just say you're growing your gifts, you're doing intuitive readings, you're going down a different spiritual path than you grew up with, right? Maybe you grew up with a very religious, strict family, and now you're going down this total more woo-woo path. It's a little unconventional to them. Then you're gonna brace yourself for people what the hell are you into? What are you doing these psychic mediumship readings? What are you doing reading pendulums or reading cards, or that stuff's from the devil, or all the opinions, all the 2 cents will come out. Or maybe you're running your own business and that's unconventional. There's just holidays can be a time when you have a super fun time, right? You eat, drink, and be merry. And then it can also be a time when it's super stressful because everybody's arguing and everybody's just kind of regressing into old behavior, and you can find yourself super triggered. Empaths. So empaths, we, by definition, are kind of a little bit more like sponges when we are taking on energy. And even I feel sometimes we take on people's words even more to heart. And sometimes that can be due to being an empath. It's just taking everything in a little bit more intensely than other people might. It can also just be maybe you don't identify with an empath, but you have a lot of triggers. You have a lot of pain that hasn't been healed. You have some work. And when people bring certain subjects up, or when you're around certain people and there's just a certain dynamic, it's very triggering and it's very stressful. So this is kind of what I'm going to do for the next few days. It's a little bit of a series on empath holiday survival tips. And number one is boundaries. This is a big one. Not only with empaths, I feel sometimes with women in general too, putting up boundaries and just And that means like, when do you know you need a boundary? Usually when you're feeling super triggered, you can feel like, if you feel it physically, sometimes you can feel yourself blushing or flushing, your face is getting warm and flushed. That like emotion is building up. You can get teary-eyed, or you can just outright be crying. You just feel hurt, like you just feel either taken advantage of or hurt, or it just feels like kind of sick in the pit of your stomach. Or just you're pissed off, like, you can tell that your boundaries have been crossed, and it just feels like, hey, whoa, like, that's not cool. That's kind of overstepping. But you find yourself sometimes, if you've been raised to be more of a people pleaser, I was stuck in that mode for a long time, like you just like putting forth boundaries. You just haven't been, it's not something that you've practiced. Hold on, I just got a text and that just totally just totally distracted me. So sometimes putting up boundaries is uncomfortable for empaths because we feel like, oh, we're being mean, we're being selfish, or it's hard to stand up for ourselves because either you haven't done it for your entire life because you've been told to shut up, like keep your opinions to yourself, be seen and not heard, or don't talk back to anybody. If you stand up for yourself, you're talking back, or you're being a bitch or whatever it is. Like you've learned over time to just hold back and not say anything. And you've kind of let these patterns go on and on and on and on. And so if we don't put down the boundaries and really communicate with other people how to treat us, they're going to treat us like they've always treated us, or they're going to treat us like we treat ourselves. So if we don't stand up for ourselves and we tend to hang in the background, or we tend to be overgiving, or we tend to just never say no, then people aren't going to think to themselves, we ought to give Jen a break. They're going to be like, no, we're going to keep piling this shit on because clearly she can handle it, or she never says no, or why should I do it when I know she's going to be there, So this is just, something that, this is just some tips to support you in all of this, because I know it can be super overwhelming, but we don't want to have to isolate ourselves in our home, even though you might be tempted. And sometimes you have to, right? Sometimes it's okay to do that, take space. But say for the holidays, you really want to be with your family, but you don't know how to really manage your energy and put up some boundaries when you need to. So I totally hear you. So let's talk about that for a second. How to really put up some boundaries. And your boundaries are yours, by the way. I want to make sure and make clear that someone else's boundaries could be totally different. Be sure that you're connecting with yourself. And we talked about this yesterday on my NAKED yoga video. Facebook muted me a couple of times yesterday, twice on 2 separate live streams. And I think it was because I said the word unclothed. I think they just muted my voice after that. I was like, shit, like really? So today I'm not going to say that. But yesterday's video, we talked about being in touch with your body, being in touch, getting centered and grounded. This is where you hear your authentic voice, your higher self talking to you. So when you're putting up your boundaries, you want to make sure that they're truly yours. They're not boundaries according to someone else. Okay. So, and know that you have to, first of all, the first tip is to surrender and know that when you put up boundaries, that's it. You're putting up your boundary and release any attachment to the outcome. Just surrender, because we can't control the reactions of other people, and know that if you're going to put up a boundary and behave differently, there are going to be family members or friends who are triggered by that. And they're going to be like, hey, something's different. I don't feel comfortable. This is out of my comfort zone. It's not about you, right? You don't have to change you. You have every right to have every fucking boundary you want, okay? Whatever is, you get to make the call and call the shots about what's okay and not okay with you, all right? So if somebody else gets triggered by it, that's their deal. That's their stuff. That's their baggage. It has nothing to do with you. Even if they want to turn it around on you and try to make it seem like, ooh, you're different. Ooh, what's up with you? Ooh, you've changed, and not for the better. Like some people will come at you guns blazing to try to keep you the same person you were. But if you're trying to make shifts, you're trying to make shit happen in 2020 and beyond, you're trying to nurture a different side of yourself that feels true and authentic to you, and you want to grow the gifts that you have. Empaths, if you want to really grow into your intuitive gifts, even into your psychic gifts, and if people are freaked out by that, that's too fucking bad, right? That's just too bad. That's their deal. That's their thing. So be ready, though. Be ready and prepared, and know that it's okay and it's normal and it's part of the process, that people are going to come back at you with it, and they're not going to feel comfortable, and they're going to try to kind of bring you back. It's like the crab in the bucket thing. Like if you're the crab trying to crawl out of the bucket, the other crabs try to pull it back in. That's what they're going to try to do. So So just be the crab that just hustles your ass up to the top of the bucket and just like pinch back at them if they try to pinch you. So, but know that you have every right. I want to just use this video to give you permission. And you don't need permission from me, okay? You don't need validation from me because you're an empath with divine guidance, with divine gifts. But I'm going to tell you this anyways, in case you're just starting this whole boundary process or you're an overwhelmed, like drained empath. I'm going to help you by just giving you permission with this to know that you have a right to take space. You have every right to take space. If you need to leave or if you need to not attend, you're absolutely okay, even if it pisses people off, right? I know, like sometimes we think, oh my gosh, it's been a tradition for X years. How can I? It's okay. If you really, really need this and your soul is craving this and it's screaming at you for a break or to just, decompress, do it. You're not going to be your most loving, highest self if you're showing up overwhelmed and drained, right? You get to choose. You get to choose if you're going to engage in certain conversations. You get to make those choices. You don't have to engage in any conversations that make you feel uncomfortable. And you get to choose how you're going to show up in these conversations. Maybe you're just a listener sometimes, maybe you're participating, or maybe you want to make sure that you have a voice in this conversation. Maybe you're someone in your family who never got to have an opinion or never got to share your opinion. And now you want to come in and participate in these conversations and make your opinion heard, right? So you get to choose how you show up. You get to choose what you consume or what you participate in at the holiday events. So you don't have to, if you are someone who is really super focused on your health and wellness and nutrition,